will maybe not ask for some help. It kind of depends on how this lesson goes. But again, this is something we've been like talking a lot about. So again, 3, 7 lines. So we're writing the equations of lines. We're starting with slope intercept. And so I put all of the formulas on here because I wanted to make sure you had them in one place. I would highlight them, I would mark them, write them down. I would rewrite them on every problem until you like know them like the back of your hand, because these are formulas I'm never gonna give you again. So I'm gonna give them to you now. I'm never gonna give them to you again. All right. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, and it represents an equation with slope m and y-intercept 0b. So if I give you a point like this, 0, -3/8, and a slope of 7, then we're allowed to solve and write it into slope-intercept form. I just told you that the y-intercept is written as 0b. So then that means that if this is written as 0 and then a number, then that number is my b. My slope is always my m, and so it's really easy to just write this as y equals mx plus b. Instead of writing m, I'll write 7. So I'll write 7x, and then instead of writing b, I'll write -3/8, so -3/8. That's it. That's all I want here. Obviously, not all of them are going to be this easy, but we started with the softball one. The next one will jump a little bit harder, and we need to make sure that we write this into slope-intercept form. I actually gave you points for x1, y1. It's not just your b is given to you. And I'm actually going to solve this. You can do this one of two ways. You can do it slope-intercept or you can do it point-slope, but I'm going to do it in slope-intercept. I know some of you guys solve it this way. So I'm using my form y equals mx plus b, and I'm going to plug in and find b. So I know -4 is my m, my x is -3, and my y is 5. So I just plugged in m, x, and y into this, and I'm going to find out what b is. Again, some of you do this, which is awesome. Some of you don't do it, which no need to change. I'm just going to show this to you so we all have seen it. I multiply -4 and -3, and I get 12. So 5 equals 12 plus b. And then I minus 12 from both sides, and I get -7 equals b. Because now I have my m and I have my b, I'm going to plug it into my slope-intercept, y equals -4x minus 7. All right, so all of these specified that I wanted in slope-intercept form, so that's why we solved that way. The next part is point-slope form, which again, I gave you that equation in case we didn't know it. I gave you the equation for slope-intercept, or for point-slope, excuse me. Point-slope, and then we're going to use that to start solving. So this is helpful. Again, I say this several times in math. We're not that creative. So if it says it's point-slope form, it literally uses a point and a slope. That's all it is. So I gave you on this first one a point, x1, y1, which is 2, -6, and a slope, 1/3. That's your m. And I want us to write this in point-slope form. So we're not going to simplify it to slope-intercept form. We're going to leave it here. And so I'm going to write it in my form. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can also see our point-slope form. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So I'll do y minus -6 equals 1/3 x minus 2. Now I was dramatic and wrote minus -6. We know that's the same thing as a positive. So from now on, if you see me write a positive, it's because we had a minus and negative. I don't need to prove that point again. I just proved it now. All right, questions so far? All right, let's do the next one. It says through -3, 5 with a slope of -2, 7. Again, we got to put it in point slope form. And actually, this is like the one we just did. Who can help me on this one?
It'd be y plus 5 equals -2 sevenths, and then the x plus 3.
Good. I've got one problem. I want this plus 5 to be a -5. since it's normally a +5 here. So we always do minus that one, and so we're just gonna make that a -5. Other than that, perfect, Kate, thank you. Any questions on this one? Again, this is it. This is all we do. Just leave it here. All right, we got another one. All right, another one very similar. Who can set this one up for me?
Would it be y plus 9
Mhm.
equals 6, and then parentheses x minus 3/2?
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. Very good. I like how you had a minus, so you made it positive. And then a lot of us want to take that fraction and make that the slope because we're used to slopes being fractions, but you were super careful and made sure that it stayed in your x spot. Awesome. Thank you, Colin. And again, that one's done too. All I wanted was point slope. Okay. Now I've got a couple problems like this. Now it's going to tell me what form it wants it in. This wants it in point slope, but it doesn't give me a point and a slope. It gives me 2 points. So we have to remember what the slope formula is. And I didn't write that down for you, but I'm going to write it down now, and I need you to highlight it, and I need you to know it. You find slope by doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm just going to highlight it in orange because all my other formulas are highlighted in orange. And so I can know I have to go back and I have to know that later. All right, so now I'm going to plug in my points. I'm going to label my points. I don't know if I've said this to your class, but don't be too cool for school and not label your points. If you mess up and like you use your, like you flip your X's and Y's, or you don't use your 2 and you use your 1 instead, that's going to feel way sillier than if you just labeled your points and did it correct the first time. So I'm going to do -3 minus -5 over -6 minus 2. I know minus and negative becomes plus, so the numerator is 2, and the denominator is going to be -8. 2 over -8, though, can be simplified to -1/4. And that's my new m. Now it says to write it in point slope form. I can use my m, and I can use either 2 point. You can either use your first point or your second point. It doesn't matter. So you and maybe the person who sits next to you at school might have different answers, but if you use the 2 points accordingly, then you are fine. Who wants to set this one up for me? In point and slope form, this form. Who can help me?
Would it be y plus 5
Sure.
equals -1/4, and then in parentheses x take away 2?
Perfect. Very good. Ellie used the first point, so she had +5 with her y and -2 with her x. You could have done the second point and had +3 with your y and +6 with your x. Either one is great. Good job. All right, now I've got the next point. The next problem, it says write an equation for a line with x-intercept 3 and y-intercept 2. The y-intercept 2 is helpful, but if I want slope, I need 2 points. Oh, but we remember intercepts mean that they're on the axis. So if it's an x-intercept, it's on the x-axis, which generally means, I'm just going to do a little brief sketch. If it's 3 on the x-axis, it's here. And that point is 3, 0. And if my y-intercept is at 2, that's there. And we know that that intercept is at the point 0, 2. So now I have some points. I've got an x1 and a y1, and I've got an x2 and a y2, and I can find my slope from here. Some of you might also just want to count from these points. You might be like, all right, we went down this many, we went over that many. It doesn't matter. Either way is fine. I'm going to do the algebra out. I'm going to do 0 minus 2 over 3 minus 0. which is negative 2/3. And if you counted down and then to the right, you should also have gotten negative 2/3. So that's my slope. I want to write this in slope-intercept form. So I have my slope. Can somebody help me write it all the way in slope-intercept form?
We can do
Oh, yep, Kamara, help me.
y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2.
Awesome. Where'd that 2 come from?
The y-intercept.
Good. It's spelled out that my y-intercept was 2. So that normally that's the math we have to do. This time it wasn't the math we had to do. We had to find the slope, but then we could just write down my y-intercept. Perfect. Thank you for helping. All right, everybody give me an emoji reaction. Thumbs up means that you're doing great. Clapping means I have no idea what's happening or I need some extra help. Where are we at? I see 2 thumbs up. I see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a billion. All right. I see no clapping. I see some non-voters, but I see a lot of thumbs up. So good job, guys. Okay. Now we're going to talk about horizontal versus vertical lines. I'm going to be really straight up with you guys. I feel like this has to be like a memorized thing. I personally can't just seem to reason my way through a horizontal and vertical line. I just have to know it. That might not be the case for you, but if it is, don't be afraid. I'm going to give you some like cute little ways to remember it, but you may just have to memorize. So the first thing says, recall that a horizontal line has slope 0. So if it's a horizontal line, think about it like just a straight flat line. It has slope of 0, and it has the equation of y equals a number. On the other hand, a vertical line has an undefined slope, and it has the equation of the form x equals a number. We're going to first talk about slopes. If it has a slope of 0 versus an undefined slope, we need to remember what an undefined slope looks like. An undefined slope is anything over 0. While a 0 slope is just m equals 0, or it's basically 0 on top of any number. Have you guys ever seen this where it goes OK and then NO? OK means that it's a 0 on top. So when it's a 0 on top, it's OK, it's good. My slope there equals 0. If it's an NO, that means 0's on the bottom. And that is not good. That means it's an undefined slope. That is bad. You cannot have 0 in the denominator. So sometimes I help myself remember, especially if you have to do something like this, like the m equals and solve. If you have to do that and you get 0 on top and bottom, sometimes I get students who ask me and they're like, well, is that slope 0 or is that undefined? Sometimes we don't remember. So I use this to help me remember. OK means that it's all good. NO means that it's not good. It's going to be an undefined slope. Okay. Another way I remember horizontal and vertical lines is this cute little saying. It goes, hoi vux, V-U-X, hoi vux. For us Spanish speakers, we may want to say oi, but I want you to have a hard H there to remember that H is there. So hoi vux is a cute little like mnemonic to help me remember this. The H stands for horizontal. The O is a 0, which means that my slope is 0. And then the Y helps me remember that it's a Y equals equation. So if I remember hoi, then I can remember that horizontal, 0, and Y equals all go together. Hoi, horizontal, 0, Y equals. If I can remember vux, this means vertical. The U stands for undefined, which means that we have an undefined slope. And then the X means that it's an X equals equation. So if I can remember vux, I can remember vertical, undefined, and X all go together. You don't have to memorize these things. I'm not going to write this on a quiz and be like, what does hoi vux stand for? but I want to give you tools to help you remember it. So if you need a little cute way of memorizing it, this is what I've used in the past to help me remember things. Any questions so far? Okay, now let's do an example. I've got 2 examples. Write an equation for a horizontal line through the point -1, 6. So I know it's a horizontal line, so I can remember my HOI. I know my slope is 0. I know it's going to be a y equals equation. I can also draw a picture if that's helpful to me. So I can draw a little picture and I can go to -1, +6, and put a little point there. And if it's a horizontal line, it's going to go horizontally through that point. If it's horizontal, it means that everywhere it is, its y is equal to 6. So if I remember HOI, h is y equals, so y equals whatever the y value is, and that just means it's 6. Forever and forever, nothing else. You don't have to draw a picture. You can just remember horizontal and just do the y equals. But if you want to visualize it, feel free to draw a picture. Questions? All right, let's do the other one. It says, write an equation for a line that has an undefined slope and contains the point 47. Undefined slope. Okay, HOI VUX. The V has the U with it, so that means it's a vertical line because of my VUX. And it means it's going to be an x equals equation. So without doing any other math, if I know it's vertical, I just know x equals the x value, which is 4. Again, you could, if you're a visual learner, you can draw a little graph. Wow, none of my lines are straight. Let me try that again. That line is for sure not straight. One, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not necessarily to scale, but it goes over here. And it's a vertical line, so it goes straight up and down. And that goes through all the y's are different, but all the x's are 4. It stays on that vertical line. So that's why my answer is x equals 4. Okay. That's kind of all we're doing with horizontal and vertical lines right now. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. We're going to do a brief preview on parallel and perpendicular lines. Oh, but before we do that, let's graph. I want you to go to the bottom of your page and we're going to graph a couple lines. We're going to do more parallel and perpendicular tomorrow. So if we don't get all the way through those questions, it's fine, but I got to make sure you know how to graph. All right. Remember, this is my M, and my M is rise over run. So we generally go up and then to the right. If it's negative, I like to go down and to the right, but if we're running out of boxes, you can go up and to the left, and that still makes it negative. Same thing for a positive slope. If you want to make it positive, but there's no room to go up and to the right, then we go down and to the left. Just think about when you finish your picture, does this look like it's going up as you go across the page, or is it going down? Is that matching what we want? If yes, then you're good. This guy is your y-intercept, and y-intercepts go on the y-axis. This is a super, super common mistake I've seen with you guys already this year. Maybe not you individually, but you as a geometry cohort I've seen. It's on the y-axis. Don't put it on the x-axis, put it on the y-axis. So I'm going to go to 1, and then I'm going to go up 2, and then right 5. Up 2, and then right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically, you just need 2 points to make a line. I like my line to be as straight as possible, so I put as many dots on the grid as possible. I can't go up and then to the right 5 anymore, so I'm going to go down and to the left 5 and see where my next point is going to be. Down to left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to connect my dots with a line. Awesome. There are some arrows at the end because your line goes on forever. Any questions? Okay, graph the next one. I'll join you in a second. You graph this one by yourself. All right, now that you've gotten a head start, I'm catching up. Put your y-intercept on the y-axis at 2. And then my slope is -3. So that means I'm going down 3, right 1. Down 3, right 1. Give me a point. Ooh, wrong color. And I like to keep going. Down 3, right 1. Here's another point. Down 3, right 1. There's another point. Now I'm going to go up the other way. Up 3, left 1. Up 3, left 1. Nope. Okay, any questions on graphing? Okay, let's do some parallel and perpendicular. I know we've talked about this a little bit in class. I know we're going to talk about it more in depth tomorrow, but I want to make sure that we are doing okay on this. So I'm just doing a little introduction for the last few minutes of class. Okay, 2 non-vertical lines are parallel if they have the same slope, the exact same number. If it's 3, then the parallel line is 3. If it's -2/7, the parallel line has a slope of -2/7. It's the exact same number. Whoa, now I'm throwing my pen. The exact same number. If it's perpendicular, we have, this has the negative reciprocals. I like to call it the opposite reciprocals. Opposite refers to the sign. So if it was positive, it becomes negative. If it was negative, it becomes positive. And then reciprocal means that we flip it. I'm gonna write flip next just in case we need to write that. So like, let's say I had 3 was my slope of the first line. If it's perpendicular to it, it's now going to be negative because it was positive, and then it's going to flip. 3 flips to be 1/3. Same thing if I had -2/7. If I make that opposite, my new slope is going to be positive, and then if I flip it, it becomes 7/2. So those were my examples of parallel slopes. These are my examples of perpendicular slopes. All right, let's do a couple problems. For this first one, I want to know what's the slope of this line? Who can help me find the slope of this line?
-3x.
Why is it -3x, Colin?
Because you have to subtract the 3x to the other side.
Good.
Y
Minus,
by itself.
perfect. Minus my 3x by itself, or on both sides, so I can get y by itself. So m is just my -3. Okay, if it's parallel, am I going to use -3, or do I have to do the opposite reciprocal? This is for anyone, not just Colin.
You're going to use -3.
I'm going to use -3. Good, Kate. Because it's parallel, I'm going to use the same thing. And now we need to find my slope-intercept form. So if I'm going to put it in point slope form, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Who can help me fill in the blanks? Y minus what?
Y minus 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then -3. And then +1.
Good, x plus 1. Colin's been a real big help today. He's taking everybody's slack up. Or he's just uncomfortable with silence, right, Colin? You don't have
Yeah.
to answer that. All right, now we're going to distribute. We need to get it into slope-intercept form, so I can't stop until it's there. We're going to distribute that -3, and then we're going to add 2 to both sides. Y equals -3x minus 1. Questions, comments, concerns? All right, let's do another one. Last one on this paper. It says, write the equation of a line containing the point 3, 4 and perpendicular to the line -1/2 x plus 5. Write it in point slope form. What's my slope of this line? Who's someone I haven't talked to yet?
Is it -1/2?
It's -1/2. Good. Am I going to use that or do I need to change it?
Change it
Change it to what?
to
Perfect, just 2. It's going to be +2. We're going to flip, or we're going to negative that or opposite that to make it positive. And then I'm going to flip my 1/2 to make it +2. Good, thank you, Lydia. So my m is 2. Now I just need to write it in point slope form. So who can help me write this in point slope form, and then we're done? Y minus no one? We got all nervous with the last minute of class. Who hasn't talked to me? Somebody write this in point slope for me, please.
y minus 4 equals -2 in parentheses x minus 3.
Thank you for saving us, Kate, from that awkward silence. I do have one problem, though. Do you know what my one problem with this is?
Not a negative, just 2.
Yes, just 2. So we had a negative before, now it's got to be positive, so it's going to be a +2. Other than that, it's in point slope form, so I'm done. We're all good. I have my x1, my y1, and my m plugged in. That's it. All right, guys. I am going to see you tomorrow on Zoom. Again, if you're not going to be here, call attendance line. I did assign you a homework, but it's not due until I see you in person. Do not wait until the night before I see you in person to do all this homework, because I will have assigned 3 by the time I see you. So do not wait till the last minute, and I'll answer any questions you have over the homework tomorrow in class if anybody has or comes to class with any questions. If you need anything, you can stay on. If not, have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.